Yes, now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Thomas Rants YouTube channel. Let's talk Monday Night Raw for this week. Where do we even start? I say this every time. Where do we even start? I think let's just start with how it opened. We opened up straight away. Adam Pearce stood in the middle of the ring, and you can imagine why. There's a lot of shit to address. He essentially called out Seth Rollins. He said, Seth, get your ass out here. Out came a shit ton of masked men just circling the ring. Like, Seth has been pulling us off for weeks. The gig is up now. Like, numerous different masked men, and now eventually they're all just coming in one big army. And obviously they're not superstars. They're not, like, going to be competing, but it's all part of the gimmick for Seth. He's hiding behind all these masked men. So he's unpredictable, and you don't know his next move, and he's mysterious, right? And eventually, throughout all of them, Seth shows up, shows his face, and he gets a massive pop as well. Which is insane because we all knew it was him. Adam Pearce essentially tells him, look, I get it. The Vision deserve what they're getting from you. But at the same time, I can't allow it to happen. You're still injured and it's causing chaos. So it needs to stop. That's when Logan Paul and Austin Theory came out. As we know, Braun's injured, Brunson's injured, Paul's now injured. So they're trying to take it all out on Seth. And they're saying, oh, we're going to beat your ass. And that's when all the masked men do all their magic again, and Seth disappears. It's quite goofy the way they were just dancing around the ring, but it is what it is. And then that's when LA Knight shows up to start scrapping Logan Paul and Austin Theory, and the USOS show up to help LA Knight. They weren't in any hurry, like they kind of just walked their way down there. But then they beat up the Vision. A bit cliche. I mean, we talked about the back half of 2025, every Monday Night Raw ending the same, like, all in a big scrap between the Vision, the Usos, LA Knight, CM Punk, and just some tag team match, right? Happened all the time. It's kind of the same thing happening now. We're still getting the Usos coming out to Jey Uso's theme, like, solo theme, as that makes sense. And we're still just getting a lot of scraps that really led nowhere. There was no match come out of that. And that was when Jimmy and Jey went backstage, got an interview from Jackie Redmond, who was like, okay, but if you're leaving, what you got to say about CM Punk? And that's when Jey kind of just dismissed it and went, nah, we don't got nothing to say to no one except Logan, except Austin Theory, except Seth Rollins. And that's when Jimmy kind of paused for a second, because if you remember last week, obviously CM Punk not only trying to insult Roman Reigns, but insulted his family by saying, you know, calling them his goons and stuff like that, but then insulted Sika by, you know, using his death as leverage over Roman Reigns. So the kind of, you know, loyalty has to kick in and they have to say something at this point. So they did. Later on the night when CM Punk was cutting his promo, out came the Usos. Jey, hot as ever, demanding an apology. Jimmy playing peacekeeper, but at the same time being the brains. And CM Punk initially refused to apologize, and that's when Jimmy had to step in and just be like, listen, we respect you, but what you said, it's not about Roman Reigns. That's about family that you're disrespecting. He doesn't have a voice. You call yourself the voice of the voices. Sika doesn't have a voice. He's dead. And that's when CM Punk kind of explained how he's got history with the Samoan dynasty. And he doesn't believe what Jimmy and Jey believe, but if he did, and they believe that he can hear what's going on, he would see how bad of a person Roman Reigns is, essentially. And just kind of really refused to apologize. And then eventually he did, but then turned it around and said, I'm sorry, Roman's such a shit person, essentially. So the Usos had to do something about it. The decked CM Punk won and left him lying there. And it's interesting because we've still got a while to build till Mania. Obviously, we're not going to get a Roman Punk promo every week. We're not going to have Roman Reigns be in any big matches in the lead up to Mania. I think Punk versus the Usos is the way to go up until Mania, you know. And we might get some good matches here, and it might add to the story, you know. And it's interesting to say because we're finally getting some, like, seriousness out of the Usos. They're not just showing up, yeeting, scrapping, and then leaving. Like, no, this is a serious storyline. And Jey, like, although he didn't say much, it was better character and promo work from him. And we always know that Jimmy's going to be the mouthpiece anyway, but at the same time, like, it's actually interesting. Like, I care for it. Do you know what I mean? So that was pretty cool. As for the Women's World Title division, Stephanie Vaquer cut a good promo on Liv. Obviously, last week Liv was on about, you know, I am privileged, but I'm the best, and I'm here. What are you going to do about it? This week, Stephanie kind of just leaned in again to it's different. You know, I came from a different background to you. We're both at the same position now, and it's fair game. But the problem is, Liv, is I see more in you than you see in yourself because you're privileged and you had it easy because you got into WWE from age of 20 and you've had it light all these years and you've not had to work your way up on different shows from country to country like I have. You don't even recognize your own potential because you've not had to push yourself to them limits. And it's an interesting story from Stephanie, like, you know, and this is what this match needs. It needs some actual story, some hype, because like Stephanie's great and she's a great world champion. Liv is great and she's a great WrestleMania opponent. But at the same time, this story was never meant to happen because Naomi was still meant to be champion, do you know what I mean? And maybe at some point she was going to lose that title to someone else. But Stephanie was a step-in champion, so I can imagine this wasn't the original plan. But they're doing a decent job at actually making it interesting. So I, again, have to respect it. Then, what else do I talk about? Judgment Day. I have to talk about the Judgment Day. Dom came out, you know, with Liv, with Raquel, with JD. They were looking for him in the back earlier. Couldn't find him anywhere. And he came out and he said, obviously, last week I lost the Intercontinental title, and we all know whose fault it is. They're not even, you know, they're straight away dressing the elephant in the room. Like, they're not even like, they're not sugarcoating nothing, right? You straight up blaming Finn Balor. Finn Balor comes out and he's like, where the hell have you been, you know? I'm hoping you've went and got us a rematch. I'm hoping you've come back to apologise. And that's when Finn kind of like just eased into it. Like, okay, it's fine, get it out. Look, I'm trying to help you, Dom. You know, last week you said you want to do it on your own. You got to do it on your own. You claim you want to be the best Mysterio of all time. Sometimes that's how you got to do it. To be the greatest anything of all time. And that's when he said, but sometimes I think your dad is right. Maybe you're just a spoiled little prick. And that's when shit just hit the fan. And Dom hit Finn Balor. Finn Balor Pele kicked Dom back. JD tried to hold Finn back while Liv and Raquel are trying to hold Dom back. Dom tries to break out and attack Finn. Finn beats his ass again. And he's fully just beating the shit out of Dom. And then eventually JD takes a side and wipes out Finn Balor. Obviously sees Finn Balor as the problem. And the rest of Judgment Day start beating down Finn Balor. You could say Finn Balor turned on Judgment Day. You can say Judgment Day turned on Finn Balor. Regardless, Finn Balor is a solo babyface. We've got the inevitable. I mean, it happens in, like, order. Like, Edge started the Judgment Day, recruited Damian Priest, recruited Rhea Ripley, recruited Finn Balor. They turned on Edge, the originator, right? Then from Finn Balor, they had recruited Dominic. Then they'd recruited was it JD? I think JD. And then they turned on Priest. And then Liv had got recruited while Rhea was injured. And they turned on Rhea. The next move was to turn on Finn, you know. It just goes in order. I mean, if they're ever going to turn on anyone again, it would be Dom. But I think at this point, like, they're just going to disband if that ever happens. So the story begins. Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, WrestleMania. Finn Balor's going on a solo run. And the fact it's not for the IC title is disappointing, but at the same time kind of hopeful because maybe after this WrestleMania match for Finn Balor, he might propel himself to a world title division. Because if you think about it, we're not going to have Roman feuding with Punk the whole time. There's spaces there available, even over on SmackDown. I mean, I'm actually so excited for it, man. Genuinely so excited for it. We had to open up the show, well, the first match to open up the show was a 6-woman gauntlet match. We only had 3 matches on the show again, which annoys me for Monday Night Raw, but I can excuse it this time because one match was a 6-woman gauntlet match, so it was technically 6 matches in one. And this was for the opportunity to face AJ Lee for the Intercontinental title, and I thought it was to face her at Mania. No, it's only to face her next week on Monday Night Raw, which I like. I like that AJ Lee's defending it on the lead up to WrestleMania. And not just, you know, wait until Mania. And they can't really do an open challenge because they've already been doing that over on SmackDown. So, you know, they need a different way of doing it. A whole gauntlet match for a match next week on Monday Night Raw seemed a bit extra. But I only realised that after because when I seen the lineup, I'm like, oh my God, Io Sky's obviously winning. They're going to run Io Sky, AJ Lee at Mania. It's got no story, but they need Io on Mania. But no, it was only for next week. So when Io actually ended up losing because she beat Lyra at first, which I think sucks. I don't think Lyra should have went first. I think it should have got down to Lyra and Bailey last. Because that just meant, when it was Lyra and Io first, that just meant Lyra was getting beaten first, which is just such a shame. And then she beat Raquel as well. So Raquel attacked her. Ivy Nile came along and stole the pin. They pushed Ivy hard here because she got the pin over on Io Sky, and she got a long grueling match with Bailey. You know, like they're actually trying to do something with Ivy Nile. And then Bailey beat Ivy and then beat Asuka in the final. And Bailey's going to face AJ Lee next week. I'm happy Bailey won. It's another Randy Orton situation in the chamber. You never expected her to win. I would have expected Io first, then Lyra, then Raquel, then maybe Bailey. But I'm so happy she did win. Obviously, it's Bailey. She's a go. So we're going to get Bailey, AJ Lee next week. That's going to be interesting. Obviously, Bailey's not going to win. And I can imagine maybe right before Mania we might get Lyra again. But it kind of looks like, and I feel like the only thing that makes sense, is running Becky AJ back at Mania. And I'm still thinking, because I'm like, okay, well, Io's not in a tag team with Rhea anymore. She's not in any of the world title matches. She's obviously not going to face, like, AJ Lee at Mania. What you're going to do at Mania, it's obvious now. It's going to be against Asuka. I mean, if you look, Asuka and Kairi have that history with Io that turned on her because she was friends with Rhea, but Io's always noticed the abusiveness that Kairi goes through with Asuka, and she's been spotted in the background on this episode of Monday Night Raw, like watching them, like seeing the struggle Kairi's going through, and I feel like that's the direction they're going to go in. They're going to have a match between Io and Asuka at Mania, and hopefully Io can help Kairi escape the tyrants of Asuka, which I suppose is not bad. I would have wished better for Io, but at the same time, it is what it is. I thought we'd already left that dead in the water. Apparently not. What were the other matches? Oh yeah, Penta, right? With no build-up, like no open challenge. It was just straight up announced, like, the week after he's won his Intercontinental title, right? Not even a promo. Like, he's going to defend straight away next week against the original El Grande Americano. And originally, I'm like, why? And we saw the original El Grande Americano in the back, and then he had a run with Danhausen. I know it's Chad Gable, and we know, like, they've got a AAA thing going on where in WWE the originals is the babyface and the imposter's the heel, but in AAA Ludwig Kaiser's the babyface and the original is the heel. But like fully having him speak English when the first time Chad Gable was El Grande Americano, he didn't speak English, is a bit mental, but it is what it is. He had an interaction with Danhausen and obviously tried to push him away. Danhausen did his funny comedy thing and cursed original El Grande Americano. And then we saw Riot and Bravo behind, keep saying it, but original El Grande Americano. And we can only assume he was attacked because when El Grande Americano was set to make his entrance after Penta's promo before their match, it turned out to be Ludwig Kaiser who came out, who, if you notice this deal, fair play to you, dressed in the original gear that he had to look more like the original one, so like no one would notice the difference, and the referee wasn't noticing the difference. But obviously he's been attacked and taken out, and Kaiser's taken that spot. This is obviously going to unfold. I still don't know what Penta's doing at Mania, because the El Grande Americanos, it would be a good match to have them face each other at Mania, but they're going to do it at AAA, which I feel like makes sense. It frees up more space for Mania. So God knows what they're actually going to do at Mania. I did think Penta, Javon Evans would be a shout, but I spotted Javon Evans in the back doing not an interview, but a backstage promo with Kofi Kingston, right? If you remember a couple of weeks ago when it was, what even was it? Why did that happen? Was it like Raw, like after Chamber or some shit? No, it wasn't. Why? What was so special about that episode of Raw? Well, it was just a Raw in Chicago, I suppose. But Javon had Offset in his corner. He's not from Chicago. He's from Atlanta, isn't he? Or St. Louis. I've got no. It doesn't matter, right? A couple weeks ago, Javon had Offset in his corner in a match with Kofi Kingston. That Offset got involved and chucked Grayson Waller out of the way. Kofi essentially, obviously, we know Xavier Woods isn't there. Kofi essentially came to talk to Javon Evans, told Grayson Waller to fuck off, and he kind of took his babyface role down a bit and kind of said to Javon, look, you remind me a lot of myself when I was younger. What you do need is some good people on your side, aka trying to get Javon to end of the New Day. He realised when he couldn't beat Javon, it's better to have him join him because that's quite an intimidation. And Javon declined that offer, and Obviously, they're not going to run Kofi Javon at Mania or Kofi Woods at Mania, but I'm starting to think we're going to get the New Day versus Javon and Offset at Mania, because we know WWE likes their celebrity collaborations. I mean, Bad Bunny, Travis Scott, Logan Paul, Jelly Roll, like they've done it a lot in recent years, and I think at WrestleMania they definitely do want to kind of make it a tradition to try and get some celebrity involvement, which I feel like just bring Jelly Roll back, because Jelly Roll gets the business. He doesn't have to be good in the ring. He understands it. I can kind of see that happening, which I suppose is cool to see. You know, you've had Javon and Offset against the New Day, and it's nice to get the New Day on Mania because they deserve to be there. But I kind of feel like Javon Penta would be cool. But at the same time, my idea, I've got no reason to back my idea, because where's the build? Where would that come from? And that's very early for Javon. I mean, you don't want to start like Javon losing at Mania, but at the same time, do you want Penta's reign to be that short? Do you want Javon to be fast-tracked that quick? Because not even Obafemi's been fast-tracked that quick, and he had a mental match with Rusev, right? And I'm not saying like match quality, like, oh my god, that was a holy shit match, because it lasted 4 minutes. It lasted longer than the one with The Miz and Johnny Gargano, Kit Wilson, and everyone else he squashed, right? Because Rusev, you know, you got to put some respect on his name as a big man, and that's why there was hype behind this match. But the way Obafemi hit his moves on Rusev, like he was no different to the skinny, small body of Johnny Gargano and Kit Wilson, is mental. We know he was a good shot putter back in the day, but the way he threw Rusev, the way he effortlessly just chucked him up for that powerbomb, I mean, I'm sure Rusev's helping in a way. I mean, the way when he throws him, Rusev can't possibly help there, but the pop-up powerbomb, maybe he can, but that's insane. It actually just shows the level of power Oba has. And to me, that just means that when he's doing it to people like Johnny Gargano, it's genuinely effortless. Like, he probably had to strain a bit for Rusev, but like still, that's insane. And I think it's next Monday, Brock Lesnar's showing up, and you're damn right we better be getting Obafemi Brock Lesnar, because I am ready to lose my shit over that, because it's gonna be sick, man. And if Brock beats Oba, I mean, fuck you, WWE, seriously. Like, and if like normally having a star come from NXT and beating someone like Brock Lesnar, quite literally the toughest motherfucker of all time in WWE, would seem insane. But at the same time, Brock Lesnar's in the later half of his career, and we've seen him lose a lot more recently and seen him a bit weaker, but it makes sense because of his age. And this, it's written in the stars. It's a perfect, like literally a perfect matchup. So yeah, I'm excited for that. I think next week on Monday Night Raw, we're gonna have a lot better episode. I mean, not even to dig at this episode. There's a few stuff that's unnecessary, like a lot of the main story stuff, like all the hooded figures and just the kicking ass at the start. There was no need for that. Do you know what I mean? But apart from that, shit's exciting. I mean, next week we're gonna get AJ Lee versus Bayley for the women's Intercontinental title. We're gonna see the Judgment Day and Finn Balor story unfold. We might get Roman Reigns next week. Brock Lesnar's going to be there, and someone's going to answer his challenge, right? Like, I'm excited for next week. But that's my opinions. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.